Hello and welcome to another episode of Gully to Gully. We're going to discuss the Pakistan versus England match. And thank you for watching. You can watch our previous 10 episodes about Pakistan's performance. And we'll probably say the same thing again. So there's not much more to say. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe and make sure at the end of this episode we have 823 subscribers. By some random coincidence, Moin and I are wearing green. I'm wearing green, Moin's wearing white, but trust me, this was not planned. Um,
It's not like we were expecting a miracle today or some rare god Ahmed Jamal Kamran Akmal esque performance. Absolutely not. I mean, no, it's complete coincidence.
yeah, look, yeah, I think my introduction is enough. To be honest, I don't really want to talk about the details of the game and the front foots and the back foots and Babar Azam's lack of form and Shahid Afridi's lack of pace and the catch drops because honestly, like, what is there to say that we haven't said in our last 50 episodes?
Well, there is clearly something, and that starts with an
The
8
more,
and ends with a 23. Okay? 823.
yeah. I
I
guess the
mean,
biggest
it
news of
is.
the biggest news of the day. Sorry, Moin, sorry to cut you off. That Moin is back. Vivek has left the room.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue.
Vivek is shocked by what he's seen. Vivek could not believe this was possible in cricket. So Vivek unfortunately is gone, and Moin, an unshaven Moin in mourning, clearly sleepless nights because I couldn't believe what has happened. No, I'm joking. Honestly, this has become so commonplace for Pakistani fans that I was actually looking at all the reels and memes on Instagram to keep me occupied. That's the thing I look forward to now. Look,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to keep it very simple. Okay, Pakistan. Being a Pakistan fan, if you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said it's been quite tough. But now it's like it's actually quite easy because every time you think it can't possibly get worse, it does, to the point where even that is not surprising anymore. So honestly, I'm like, you know what? Just give it all to me. Give me all the worst possible things that could happen. Next time, I hope they show. I hope Pakistan gets all out with fit 10, and they score like something ridiculous, right? Right. And I hope like Babar Azam and everybody gets out for naught of zero balls because they all get run out of the non-strikers. And I don't care what happens. I don't care. But just give it all to me because right now I am ready. I think everybody's ready. I much rather have it all now. Take whatever you want. I mean, it's like you ask someone to come in. Let's say Robert comes to you, you're like, I just take everything. Just to go take it all. Take it all. Just make sure you don't come back again. That's all. That's all. Right? It's much better than like having one robber come in and then another one coming in a week later or like a month later when you actually improving. Nah, just take it all. Take it all. Take my entire house. Look, I'm gonna. Clearly, I'm delirious. But okay, look, let's just talk cricket for a second. Okay, 823. Okay, a lot of it starts there. Okay, so I think the first question that we need to answer, and the question that I've been getting, and I'm sure you've been getting it as well, is what happened? How is this possible? Is it the pitch? Is it the quality? Is it the batting? Is it the bowling? And I'm going to just summarize in one line and we can dissect it in a second. And that is this. Okay, it's not the pitch. Okay, the pitch was destined for a dull draw. Instead, it's got one of the greatest English victories of all time. As if Rawalpindi of 2022 didn't get that mantle. Now Multan is a close competitor. Okay, it's not the pitch. Both teams played on the same pitch. Is the pitch a terrible one? Absolutely. Is the pitch something that will kill Test cricket? Absolutely. But that is not a reason to explain what happened. Okay, I've seen lots of flat tracks in the world, and you don't score 820 runs on all those tracks. Let's be honest. So let's just call a spade a spade. A poor track, but a track that was the same for both teams. Okay, and a track on which it was a great toss to win. Please remember that Pakistan won the toss and scored 556. Right. The second point. is this whole batting versus bowling. Oh, is it the batting that lost us the match? Lots of people saying, "Oh, you can't look past the bowling; it's 800." But it's the batting, the collapse. Look, I mean, what if you look at a scorecard? What's the most shocking thing in the scorecard? And I think you and I both know, right? 820. It's not just 823. Now everybody will look at 823 and stop. I was looking at the scorecard on BBC, and they just had the total written.
Yeah.
But what's shocking is the number of overs. 150 overs, Ahid. That's 150 overs.
Yeah.
How many overs did Pakistan play to get to 556? 149. The exact 6 balls less. 6 balls less. And 260 runs less.
Yeah.
Okay. 260 runs. That alone is a decent test score on a spicy wicket. You know what I mean? Like, who does that? That's insane. Okay. So that is obviously the headlines, and rightly so, it will be the headlines. But let me be very clear. The reason you did not win the match, and the reason you were kept out of a winning position as early as the third day, even after scoring 556, is due to your bowling. No question. Okay,
Yeah.
so you didn't win, and you are out of any possible winning situation by the end of the third day after scoring 556 in the first innings is all down to your bowling. Because 556 on any track is a decent effort, right? I know it feels like Rizwan zero is a big, big, big miss, but Pope also went
No,
out. Okay, yeah.
556. I mean, come on, at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the reason you lost the match is your batting. Okay, you didn't win, and you were out of a winning position by the end of day three after massing 5-6. Blame the batting. Blame the bowling. But the reason you did not end up drawing a match and you lost this match, which should have been absolutely destined for a draw, it's your batting, right? I mean, to hear Shan Masood in the presentation to say, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, look, I appreciate that, but like ultimately, we need to get 20 wickets." I mean, forget 20 wickets, man. You need to at least bat a little in your third innings. Like, you lost the game because of your batting, right? I've talked about why you have to blame your bowling, because to not be in a winning position at the end of day three after scoring 556 is terrible. But you lost a match that was destined for a draw due to your batting. And I'm sick and tired of captains who are always perpetually complaining about the bowling, which, yes, the complaint and there's a lot to say about the bowling. It's toothless, it's terrible, and I'll give you some stats in a bit, but I want to get your views first. But let's not forget how ordinary the batting has been for so long, right? Yes, it may not give, and the reason it doesn't give you all the headlines like bowling does is because everybody's used to this with Pakistan batting, right? Our third
Yeah.
innings average, please look at it, it's under 200 over the last, like, I think 12 to 18 months. I mean, it's appalling, right? So, I mean, I'm sick of this whole thing. I mean, I think the batting takes a lot more blame than people are going to give it credit for. That people are going to attribute to it when all is said and done.
Yeah, look, a lot of stuff said. On a more lighthearted note, I'd say the joke's actually on England at the end of the day, because with 2 sessions to go in the Test match, in hindsight, they should have just batted on and gone to 1,000 or at least 953, gotten the world record. Harry Brook could have batted for another 20 overs or so and gotten to 400 rather than hit himself out. So I think at the end of the day, the joke's on them, whereas they could have had the opportunity to break a world record, two world records,
I mean, how many
because they won with
how,
more than 2
how,
sessions to spare, right? So
how many world records? I was looking at the list. Highest fourth wicket partnership ever in Test cricket. Highest this, highest that, highest this. Worst bowling figures of all
I mean,
time.
Joe Root, man, you could have gotten 3,000 runs, and he could have broken Tendulkar's record, right? If they just batted on, and they would have still, even if they gave Pakistan 1 session to survive on the last day, Pakistan still would have lost. So
Even
the
half
joke's on
session.
England.
Half
The
a
joke's on England. They had this opportunity to break all these records. I know a lot of the Indian fans for some reason assume that just because we support Pakistan, we don't support India. But I know a lot of them are fearful now, and I'm seeing all these memes around Joe Root getting to Tendulkar's record. So there's a good chance he might just get in this series, right? So all these
Yeah.
innings defeats don't help because they don't get a chance to bat again. But honestly, like in the second test, in England, if they bat first, they can just score 2,000. Joe Root can score like 1,000 runs and then just declare, and Pakistan will lose
You know,
20 wickets in two
anybody
sessions.
listening to this and not
But
having
it's
any
true.
context whatsoever, we will think we're on crack, right? We'll think that we have no understanding of cricket and be like, where are these two nutters coming from? Like, where have they come from? But actually, the scary thing is everything you've just said is valid. And the last thing about the
It
scary
is.
thought of England batting first and amassing 1,000 runs. I mean, if you told me this before the series, I would have laughed at your face. But it literally, it's shocking that we're actually considering that as a plausible outcome. You know,
And they'll have
that
Ben
is
Stokes
the
back for the next test, and probably for Bashir or someone. And there you go. That's an extra batter there. And again, remember that England, they were 4 for 1. Okay, and they lost Ollie Pope for a duck.
yeah. So let's speaking about people who I feel really sorry for. I mean, everyone talks about Pakistan, but Ollie Pope. If someone told him before that innings that your team was going to score 823 runs, Ollie Pope was, oh, sure. I'm if you're and you asked Ollie Pope, how many do you think you've scored out of the 820? Ollie Pope would have probably said at least 75, hopefully 100. Imagine how bad he must be feeling to have missed out on improving all stats possible, average, strike rate, runs, you know, maybe higher score in this innings.
Yeah.
Out of 820, zero. Zero. As the opener, forget coming in at number six when you're 700 plus and you have to
Yeah.
hit out. I mean, you are the opener. So I feel really bad for him because if you gave him this scenario and asked him, he would never have guessed you'd be out for a duck. And look, let's be honest. I think the bright spot for Pakistan was that one catch. That I guess, okay, we'll talk about Salman Aga later, but that one
Yeah.
catch that suddenly breathed life into this game, and I was, oh, Pakistan, could we really think that this could actually have a result in our favor at 4 for 1? But I think this is a moment to just touch on batting here.
Look,
Credit where
just before you, yeah, just before we get into that, look, on a slightly more serious note for once. Again, you go to this hypothetical scenario. If you were told before the match Pakistan would lose 19 wickets, not 20, remember they lost 19 wickets. Anyways, because Abrar didn't bat in the second innings. If they were to lose 19 wickets, but they will score 786, 770, so whatever, 776 runs, um, you'd have taken that, right? At the end of the day.
I mean, if you told
And
somebody you're taking a 556 first innings, I would have bitten your hand off.
so yeah,
I would have bitten
yes,
your
you say
entire arm
Pakistan
off.
lost because of the batting, but at the end of the day, look, any who kind of follows Pakistan cricket as I understand would take 770 runs in a test match from Pakistan, and you'd expect them to, maybe concede 500, 600, not at that pace. And worst case, you'd have a draw. So yes, the collapse, the 80 for 6, whatever it was, yes, that is to blame. And look, part of it was obviously they were just tired and they just couldn't really care and all of those things. I don't want to really get into the technical side of things because honestly, with Pakistan cricket, you really can't really talk about technicalities and how awful they are. I mean, Abdullah Shafiq first ball, what are you doing? Um,
But it's
but
common. It's not the first
yeah,
time it's happened. He always gets the line wrong. I remember he made Mitchell Stark look like he was unplayable in Australia because he just missed straight balls and it seemed as if it
yeah,
swung, but it didn't. At most, it kept a bit low, but come on.
yeah.
And after that, it was only going one way. As an ardent Pakistan supporter for far too long, when a collapse is right around the corner, and it often is the
No,
opener
but I
that
mean, even
goes
on
down.
WhatsApp, right? We were discussing before, like during the match as well, like the third innings collapse is about to come and this is going to happen. Even in our preview episode, we said Pakistan might make up a good start, the inevitable third innings collapse,
Yeah,
and that's going to cost us. And it's happened again, like twice against Bangladesh. It's happened again against England. It happened against Australia. Like
and it's
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 crazy, and
not
it's the
even.
loss.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's funny how we were so confident with when Pakistan amassed over 500, they were still batting. And we both said to each other, yeah, but we'll still lose, so it doesn't really matter. I
Yeah.
mean, we were so, and a part of me said it in a bit of jest, right? Because a part of me wanted to believe that actually, this could be different. At least it'll be a draw or something. It can't be literally Pakistan is never been this consistent. But that jest ended up being true, right? So it was. Look, I see what you're saying, right? I see that 700 runs, you can't blame the batting, but look, I think context is important, right? If you told me 700 runs, which was 350 in the first and 350 in the second, is a slightly different proposition to 560 in the first innings and being 50 for 6 in the second, right? The 220 after that is basically just
Yeah.
formality, right? You've lost the game at 50 for 6 and you just had a tail that decided to just have a go and show the batters that it was actually one of the flattest wickets of all
Yeah.
time.
And England were very generous with their drops as well, right? So
I mean,
that's
completely
important.
generous. I mean, this should have been ended when Pakistan less than 100 and probably more deservedly so.
Yeah.
But see, so the context is important, right? And especially given that this has been a recurring theme. It's not a one-off, right? The
Yeah.
800 is more a one-off than this. What's not a one-off on the bowling is, yes, the fact that we just can't take any wickets. It's alarming. But the batting, like, and what I said before, I didn't mean to say that the batting is more to blame, right? You might argue that after scoring 500 runs, you have no business of being outside winning territory at the end of day three. So that, if anything, is worse than actually losing the match. That itself is a loss after 550.
Yeah.
That you can't even possibly fathom a scenario where you can win at the end of day three, right? So I'm not saying one is worse than the other, but I do think there is a distinction between what caused you to not win versus what caused you to lose a game, which honestly should have been a draw, right? And the reason I keep saying that, I am sick and tired of. I think Joe Root even was being too generous to Pakistan when he had his interview, where he said, "Oh, we were just trying to play on the fact that it's very tough to bat when you've been in the heat for so long, and you're just and you're staring down such a big total, and and it starts impacting on your mental and your technical capabilities." Rubbish. Okay, I'm
England
sorry.
were in the same position, right? So
Exactly. Worst position, please. They are in foreign conditions. They're not used to the heat. They're not used to this level of, extreme weather conditions from their perspective,
yeah.
right? They're on foreign soil, right? They're not used to the batting conditions as much technically, or should be the case as much as Pakistan, although what conditions. But,
Mm.
right? And they're staring down a deficit of 500. Forget the semantics of 800. Think of the deficit. The deficit, because remember, as I said, Pakistan did amass 556, right? So that meant that the deficit after conceding 800 was only 240, right? If you look at it that way, I can show you a gazillion test matches where the third innings is played staring down a deficit of over 200 runs, right? Where it's a more common, like first innings is 200, second innings is 450, and the third innings
Yeah.
you're staring down deficit 250, which is a very, very common scenario where
Yeah.
you have to make up that 250 plus try and get a lead and give your bowlers something to bowl at in the fourth innings. Very normal. You're just England was staring down at 556. Let's be clear there. It was worse for them. So I resent this idea of giving batters a break because, oh, it's so tough on them mentally after you've conceded 800. Rubbish. You guys, I mean, you guys are professionals. Okay, you're paid to do this, right? Babar Azam is paid to do this. His reputation as the king is predicated on him succeeding in these scenarios. He should thrive and want these scenarios to prove himself in order to get out of this Zimbabwe thing where he only scores against Zimbabwe and on like flat tracks with like no possible context and no pressure whatsoever. You should want these scenarios more in order to prove your critics wrong. Where's the fire in the belly? Right? And then they talk about, we lost our first, our wicket of the first ball. So did England.
Mm.
Okay, not the first ball, but the second over, right?
Yeah.
England were 4 for 1 in foreign conditions, staring at 556, and they lost their captain. Just take a minute to think of the mental strength, right? This is the point I wanted to make from the get go. If anybody was here to question the impact of the psychology of sport on the outcome
Yeah.
of a game, any sport, forget cricket, any sport. Here is
Yeah.
your answer. Here is your answer. The psychology of sport and being able to win mentally is as, if not, in my opinion, more important than skill and technical capabilities and your talent. In fact, way
Yeah.
more important than raw talent. Okay. If you can't handle the pressure and succeed under pressure, and third innings, what's the difference between a first and a third innings? Very simply, third innings has more pressure because that's where you enforce the result on the game. That's where the outcome is determined, right? So if you can't handle that pressure, if you can't handle the psychology and the mental aspect of it, then you have no hope. And it doesn't matter how pretty your cover drives look. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. Look, I think part of it is also, again, on this trend of second inning, third inning collapses, right? Again, going back to the Bangladesh Test matches as well, the pattern's the same. But it's also the way you've ended your second bowling innings, right? You've always been the momentum. You've completely lost the momentum. Oh, you never had the momentum in the England innings except for the first 2 overs. In the Bangladesh Test matches, you had the momentum in the beginning and then you lost it and you absolutely messed it up. And you were always on the down when you came in for the third innings. And it was the same in terms of the situation where you'd messed it up with the bowling in the second innings. So when you and Pakistan cricket is like that. It's happened so many times in ODI cricket where Pakistan, if they've let the momentum go towards the end of the with their bowling, towards the end of an innings, their batting just collapses. So it's the same situation where if you had a bad time of it with the ball, when you start batting it, that momentum, that downward momentum continues, and it just gets worse and worse. And it was no surprise what happened on day 4. So to be honest, yeah, it's nothing that we didn't expect. I know I said I won't get too technical. I don't want to get into details and stuff, but just one small point. Yes, Shan Masood played fantastically in the first inning. Shafiq played really well. Shahid Shakil was decent also. But watching all of their innings, right? I mean, yes, the boundaries and the fours and the threes and doubles, they all look good. But there was still a lot of like mistimed shots at times, plays and misses, and there were a couple
Straight to
of
the fielder,
even
straight to the
yeah,
fielder.
that's his stuff. But if you look at Zach Crawley, he scored what 70, 75. He didn't even score 100 or 200, right? If you look at it, even the dot balls, he was like the sound of the bat, he was cracking them off the middle every time he was hitting it. You thought it's 4. And it only was Pakistan had like 7 fielders in the covers that he couldn't get a boundary. Literally, I don't know. I'm sure there must be some stat about how much he's middled and stuff. But that's also a case of the mindset and the intent where, I mean, that innings, okay, he scored 70 something. He got out also playing he middled it straight to mid wicket. But it's just that my Joe Root is Joe Root. He does his thing. But that 70 from Zach Crawley, that mindset, Hyde broke, of course, he was phenomenal. But the drives, every ball he's hitting, he's literally middling it, and you think that's going to go for 4. I think that's the difference as well. Right? It's a mindset thing, it's a skill thing, it's all of those things together. But Shan Masood played a very good one because had a really good strike rate, scored 150 odd. But
So
that quality of that 75 from Zach Crawley was phenomenal. It's very underrated. I know when 2 players have gotten 200 and 300, but
first 76 becomes a footnote in the entire test match.
but
But
honestly, it makes a difference. It's the quality of the innings and that
and up front,
again,
and
yeah,
up front, right? When you don't have the benefit of a platform, you are laying that platform. So I completely agree. I also think Joe Root's first 100 was better than his second 100 and his following 60, 70 runs, right? The reason I say that is look at the stats: 8 boundaries. 8 boundaries. That's what, 32 runs out of 100 on a flat wicket. What does that tell you? Strike rotation. I've said this
yeah,
100 times. I mean, we clearly can't learn. But if anybody needed a textbook lesson on how to construct an innings, irrespective of the quality of pitch or the quality of opposition, just look at Joe Root, right? I mean, and it's not like he took ages for his first 100. I mean, look at Saud Shakil. I don't think Saud Shakil's innings was that good. I think he took away some of that momentum because
yeah.
he really slowed it down a lot, right? Yes, he didn't get any boundaries, so did Joe Root, but Joe Root still was just under a run a ball. Why? Singles, doubles. Okay, I sometimes think that our dot ball percentage is so high not because we can't rotate strike. Everybody knows how to run. I mean, it's a pretty basic
Just,
fundamental
just, just,
skill
they
in
just don't
human
want
life.
to run.
They don't want to. It's fitness. They're like, oh, it's not
Yeah,
worth it. It's
that's the
not
thing.
worth
Like
it.
you saw Shafiq, he got to 100, and he literally was.
He was literally dying. You thought he had just
I
run
mean, let
like
alone poor Abrar, right? Who literally ended up in the hospital after bowling 2,000 overs for like 5,000 runs. But the I
best
mean,
player
poor
in
guy
the team when not
literally was
playing. If he
literally
wants
yeah
any
he
chance at being a Hall
yeah
of Famer, he just needs to be the 12th man. That's all he needs to be. Okay,
exactly
like I'm sorry, I know it's unfair. I hope he gets better soon. But yeah, well, look, but just sticking on this topic because I think it's a really good one. Saud Shakil, okay, Saud Shakil clearly, and this is a point I have. Momentum is what delivers results, right? And Pakistan is a clear. I mean, Pakistan should know that better than anybody else. There are countless Test matches where Pakistan has won more sessions but still ended up on the losing side, right? I can like probably 90% of them against Australia, but regardless, like that happens, and it's because the momentum shift and the ability to or inability in Pakistan's case to win key moments. It's all about moments and momentum. That's why mental is so important and knowing what those are. So Shakil, day one, and you don't need to wait till day three and day four for these these very important momentum shifts. It can happen as early as day one. So Shakil came in at a time where Pakistan were flying, okay, or we hadn't seen England just yet. So I know in comparison it looks like
yeah
we were crawling, but for a minute, just go back to day one. Saud Shakil and Babar Azam, both of them, killed that momentum. And I blame Saud Shakil a little more because he stayed longer and he didn't really change his ways, right? I know he then saw Mohammad Rizwan get out at the other end. I get it. I sometimes also think that had Saud and Babar just kept the scoreboard ticking
yeah
faster, maybe Rizwan could have scored or whatever. Like it, I don't. And the reason I make that point is that's what he did in the first innings. In the second innings, when all you need to do is literally block out and play a rearguard innings, yes, be positive, but still not be rash. He decides, oh, now is the time to prove to my critics that actually I can be a little aggressive. And he
yeah
decides to take on Jack Leach, England's best bowler, in my opinion, underrated, and he hits him for the first four. And if that's not enough, he decides to play a rash cut shot against a spinner when you haven't got your eye in against that very bowler, right? So the bounce, again on a day four pitch, you at least see him out a little, get a sighter. But it's just mental application. Like you will have countless innings to prove your critics wrong, but the most important thing you need to do is play according to the situation of the game. The critics are not lamenting you for your inability to have an aggressive
yeah
style to your play. They're criticizing you for not playing according to the match situation, and you literally prove that yet again. This is just a small example. Again, it'll be forgotten in the grand scheme of things. But if you really want to dissect Pakistan cricket and where it's come to, you look no further than these small examples because they tell you everything you need to know. We lack mental conditioning where skills, yeah, we've talked about skills. There's nothing you and I can do about the skills, right? The talent is the
yeah
talent, right? You can't help it. But at least you can make sure that the talent is delivering to the best of their abilities, which it clearly isn't. No team in their right mind that has been that many of these people have been finalists in other tournaments and have been, pretty oh, well, player of the year in China for this case or whatever, whether it's deserved or not, this team should not be conceding 800 runs and not be scoring 500 runs and losing a test match yet again after a third innings collapse. It's not. I mean, by all means lose. I don't care. If you give it your best shot and you lose by 30,
yeah
40 runs because England are just a better team, fine. Thumbs up. That's how sports work. Stuff. Right? Bat, give yourself a pat on the back, move on. But to lose like you have done clearly means that something isn't clicking on the mental side of things, right? You're picking the wrong moments to silence the wrong critics, and you are literally unable to deal with any sort of pressure. You just have, and you very rightly said, look at the difference. England was staring at 556. They had they had 3 days to bat. We had 1 day and one session to bat. Come on, come on. And
yeah
unfortunately, this is where we are. Okay, this is absolutely where we are. Just to recap, If you don't understand the psychology of sport, you have no business playing it. Okay, I'm sorry to say it's a bit harsh, but it is what it is. Okay, and Shan Masood, I think now, do you feel sorry for him or do you not? That's the question. Is he the culprit or is he a victim? Right, Zahid, why don't you go first on this?
Look, it's tough, right? It's a bit of both. It's a diplomatic answer. Yes, I mean, from a batting point of view, he got the monkey off his back. He scored 150, had a good strike rate, did all the right things, and you have to give him credit for that. But yeah, his captaincy. Look, again, if you look at it on the face of it, there was nothing fundamentally wrong with his captaincy. He was trying different things, and he was moving. The only thing I mean we were complaining about as well is he should have tried Saim Ayub and
Yeah,
Salman Aga
part time,
earlier, and
100%, 100%.
even South Shakil, who has bowled in white ball cricket a few times. So maybe those sort of things, given how bad Abrar was, we kept bowling him. The poor guy, like I said again, he bowled himself to the hospital. So, but from a fielding point of view, like what more could he have done? Right? For example, England, right? So they tried to be really innovative in Pakistan were batting, and they had this whole session where I think was it Atkinson and Cars. They were just went round the wicket bowling short balls, and they had like three fielders, one square leg, one fine leg, and like two fielders on the bat for that rib cage delivery, and they kept doing it. And Pakistan played to credit credit to Pakistan, they played that out pretty well. So maybe that's something they could have tried more consistently. Fielding didn't help, but I think it's just a mindset thing, right? On the technical side of things, he's doing everything. There's nothing more he could have done. Yes, it's on the face of it. Yeah, I'm not defending Shan Masood. I mean, he's the captain of the team that conceded 800 runs. But if never has the saying that a captain is only as good as his bowling
As his team, yeah.
been true as his team. And that's just a fact, right? I mean, when you have three medium paces bowling at 120, 130, not really moving the ball, bowling it straight. I mean, yes, Pakistan in the third innings, right? Yes, they lost a lot of wickets, but Wokes and Atkinson, they were seaming it just a little bit, or Pakistan were making it look good, right? There were a couple of deliveries that were made to look good or whatever, and there was some spin, for Leach and co. So it's just about length, and that's where your patience comes into it, right? I mean, you can bowl 10 overs, just keep bowling straight at that middle and leg line. Again, don't want to get into the technicalities. Pack the onside field, let them go for it, or try and do something to bore out the game because England, they want runs, right? So we can do something to try and drive the runs. What I would blame Shan for is not the 800, but more the 800 and 150 overs, right? Because you're not taking wickets and you're still letting the runs leak. So you need to find some sort of mechanism and
So I
it's test
think
cricket. You
to
can,
his credit, he kind of did. He told Abrar to bowl that negative line, which did work for a little while. It quietened England's batters against Abrar. I think so. Look, I agree that it's and that's why I made that point. It's the 800 of 150 overs, which is the
yeah,
more alarming thing that people won't
yeah,
see because they just
yeah.
stop looking after the 800. But like, I kind of agree, but I think there's quite elements that I don't agree with. And that's this. Look, yes, a captain's only as good as his bowling, and I know we can all conjure up lots of examples where the captain inspires a depleted bowling attack, and it has happened with Pakistan as well. I remember times when Inzamam did it, and he wasn't the best captain. But I look, I get that. But I also think a captain is only as good as a selection of the team that he has a direct say in, right?
True.
You can blame the bowling, absolutely, but this is the bowling attack you chose. Okay. Now, the argument against this is, well, they were kind of your best bowlers. I disagree. I disagree.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And I
Shaheen
think it's a good
Afridi,
good segue to come on to the next test, right?
yeah,
And what Pakistan can do
but
to.
no, but just on this, like Mir Hamza is hands down your best fast bowler, and he's a left armer, right? Why does he lose to Shaheen Afridi? Simple, celebrity player
Yeah.
power. Simple as that. I mean, and this is where I criticize Shah a little. As a captain, you should have the entitlement and feel empowered to like deliver hard hitting strong messages, whether it's team selection, whether it's on the field, whatever. I think Shan Masood, I cannot believe that he thought Shaheen is the better choice than Mir Hamza, who's done brilliantly in the last couple of games or whatever. I actually just think that Shan Masood doesn't feel very confident because he's aware that he's not one of the best players in the team. Simple as. So I think he
Yeah.
feels he needs to win win the votes of these senior players, and therefore he could not take a strong stand, perhaps. Okay, but I also see that in the way he approaches things in the field, right? Yes, he will try new things, yes, but is it, you know, yet there are moments where I feel he goes a bit into autopilot because he's scared of
Yeah.
what others will think. So he will do, like, every 10 overs, you'll see he'll try something, which I think is better than others before him.
Yeah.
But he will then suddenly go into autopilot, and there'll be a lot of autopilot in 800 runs being conceded, but it'll be such that he won't bring a part-timer on because he's scared of upsetting the senior bowlers. He'll defer to more conventional field settings, and he'll still give Shaheen the leeway to hunt for wickets, even though he
Yeah.
has no hope of getting it, and in the process going for lots and lots of runs. I don't think he has the confidence to say to Shaheen, Shaheen, I don't want you to go for wickets. I want you to pull wide outside off stump. I don't care how negative it looks, but I need to drive the runs because you're not giving me any
Yeah.
wickets. And that is, I don't think Shaheen Afridi just wants to search for that magic ball, which has probably become an extinct ball for him because he can't do it anymore. And,
Yeah.
and like he's just being smashed all over. But, but that's why I criticize him. Now, like I can see, like I was a big supporter of Shan being made captain at the time and all, but I think we're getting to a point where it's getting a bit overwhelming for him, right?
Yeah.
He does not have and this is what tends to happen when you're not a player that probably merits being in the 11 on the basis of playing ability alone. He bats at number 3 and he averages 28. Surely he has some sort of impact. He knows there are senior, better players all around him. And it's just, if I were Jason Gillespie, I don't know what is said there, but if I were Jason Gillespie, I would. I mean, look, you can't change a captain, right? And this is why I don't agree with this question that I even posed myself. Like everyone, oh, Rizwan should be made captain. I mean,
Yeah.
by
But
now you should have understood that changing a captain and changing a coach does not buy you results. It just
yeah.
doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. Now you've taken Shan Masood, you give him the full reins, and you give him that empowerment. And I don't know
Yeah.
what's missing. Maybe it's because Gillespie is new in the role that he's also just trying to like be a bit diplomatic. I don't know. But there are clear instances where I'm sure Shan Masood has captained against his better judgment for fair play power. So that for me is my parting message on captaincy in Pakistan. I don't care who's captain, but what I
Yeah.
care about is that you do what you think is right as opposed to being scared of how it will be perceived
Yeah.
by your senior players.
Fair point. Look, yeah, I think there's not much more I can say on that. Like, and the other question is, if not Shan, then who else could be captain? And there's nobody else in that team who has done well enough to even warrant the captaincy anyway.
Yeah.
So, or has played long enough to kind of say that they should be made captain. So, fair enough.
Yeah, and, and,
But yeah, I
and, and
think
lots of people who say Rizwan, just by the way, Rizwan, to be a wicket keeper in Test cricket and a key batter, I know he bats at 6, but let's be honest, he comes in much earlier than a normal number 6 would. I just think it's too much for him. And let's be honest, he's not really succeeded consistently in Test cricket. Okay, let's be clear here. I don't care what his T20 stats are.
Yeah. And there are question marks. I mean, he did keep for the 150 overs, but his fitness is, at times, even like in the Bangladesh test match, like he had to go off, right? So he's not the fittest of keepers. So with the burden of captaincy and keeping, unless you have an alternative, I'm not still convinced on that. White ball cricket, yes, for sure. But in test matches, especially with this bowling attack, which can easily go, 2 days, 3 days in the field, I'm not so sure
No
about that.
chance. Yeah.
But I think, yes, it's a good segue to move on to the next test in a way. Ben Stokes for England will probably be back, and I mean, I'm most likely for Shoaib Bashir. Probably, I don't know who else would be dropped. No one in the batting would be, and which is kind of scary from Pakistan's point of view because now you'll have Ben Stokes coming in at 4 or 5. But more importantly, again, for Pakistan's point of view, I mean, to be honest, like if I was Jason Gillespie, Shan Masood, I would just get rid of the lot. Abrar probably won't play because he's done. So that means Noman will automatically come in. He will also do the same, none for 200. I don't think he can do any
37
worse.
years young.
He's not going to do any worse.
athlete.
We've seen Abrar, and I've been talking about it from before. Like, Abrar is the best player in the team when he's not playing, and there's your answer. But Mir Hamza for Shaheen Afridi. Yes, I think the question on Mir Hamza is that he's really good with a new ball, but then his second, third spells tend to be a lot. Well, not quite the same. But then Shaheen is not good with a new ball either.
So there you go.
And again, if you look at the last 5 Test matches Pakistan played, the best 2 bowling moments have come in the Australia Test when Australia were 16 for 4 or something, and Bangladesh were 26 for 6, right? And both of them, Mir Hamza was a key player, part of that, right? So
and Khurram also. So the 2 key bowlers aren't there, but yes.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe when you drop Naseem and Shaheen and play Khurram and Mir Hamza, I would to be honest, I would go with both of them. So that's you've got and I would drop Babar Azam and play Kamran Ghulam. I mean that's a no-brainer for me, to be honest. Saim Ayub, his batting has been like the way he got out in his second innings was ridiculous. But what else can you do? I'd rather not have Imam ul Haq. So
look, I think that Kamran Ghulam could open as well.
Yeah, he can play 4. I think he played 3 or 4 in that. I mean, I know it was like
Shan Masood can also open, right? So look, this is what I think, right?
But yeah, 4 changes at least for me.
Yeah. Look, obviously, when you've lost the way you've lost, you probably don't even want to field an 11. But here you are. I would drop Shaheen for Mir Hamza. I would actually think about whether you need a spinner at all right now, or whether you just give Salman Agha your spinning up duties and you just go with all pacers. Now, I haven't watched Noman closely enough for the last 2 years to know how effective he'll be. But if I were to decide, the question for me is whether you have Noman Ali or Khurram Shahzad. I don't think you can drop Naseem. Because to be fair to Naseem, I know he's not probably as penetrating as we would have liked him to be, but the guy tried really hard. Like, to be honest with you, I think had Root been caught by Babar, maybe it could have propelled a string of wickets, but you could tell that he was working to plans, and those were almost coming off if he either had a bit of luck or he had a bit of support from fielders. So I think Naseem Shah was actually one of your best bowlers, and I think like we made the mistake in Bangladesh series of like completely revamping, and I just think drop Shaheen, keep Naseem. And if anything, I know I hate to say this, but if anything, he also gives you a bit more with the bat, although you can't choose your bowling if you're batting. But that's what it's come to, I am sorry to say. So question is Noman or Khurram. Depends on what pitch you set. Yeah. That for me is the question, right? I personally would be tempted to go Khurram. It can't possibly get worse than what you've seen.
Yeah.
It just can't, right?
Exactly.
And you just trust Salman Agha. And you actually, and yes, okay, Salman Agha can't bowl 20 overs and still save a test match batting at 7, fine. But then you do have the light part-timers in your team who actually bowled pretty okay. Saim Ayub's bowling is better than his batting. I'm sorry to say, like, although I don't think he's going to make it. Like, if you ask me, I think Abdullah Shafiq, Saim Ayub, that partnership is done. You cannot go 9 innings and not hit double figures on flat tracks in Pakistan. It just doesn't happen. It's just their 4th duck. I know it's not always one person to blame, which makes dropping a bit tough. Sometimes Shafiq, sometimes Saim. I personally would drop Saim Ayub. I would drop Saim Ayub. I would make Shan Masood open and Kamran Ghulam at 3 if he's not comfortable with opening. Okay?
Yeah,
Babar Azam in my team stays. Not because, and I'll be very clear, not because I think he's not to blame. He is the sole culprit of Pakistan's spine no longer existing. I'm not saying that, but I think if you've said to him, and I think the message has been that if you don't succeed in this England series, that's it. I think you need to give him that. And like that's for me.
I'd rather Pakistan lose. Yeah, look, you're going to lose. I know what you mean. Look,
it's
you're going to lose 3-0 anyway, right?
Right.
You're going to lose 3-0 anyway, right? So I'd rather have Saim in the team who might, if it comes off well, give you something.
but he's
Babar
so
Azam.
poor, man. Like he's so poor at sometimes. Like I just think
He
you
got
can't
he got 250s in the Bangladesh inning like series, right? I mean,
look at what it's come to.
exactly. Babar
250
Azam
to
hasn't got a
Bangladesh.
15 like
No, I
30
agree.
innings, right?
I agree. But I mean, look, I think there's a slight difference in pedigree. I'm not saying
No,
Babar
I
is
mean, to be
anywhere
honest,
near
not
what.
anymore.
No, no, not anymore. Fair enough. I'm not,
And
absolutely
look,
not a
especially if
fan.
Salman is you're going to be your only spinner, then it makes sense to have Saimi win the team.
That's true, but I think Saud Shakil. I remember Saud Shakil was a pretty decent
Yeah, but
bowler,
he
and then
hasn't bowled, right? I mean, when the team is getting smashed for 800 and the guy doesn't bowl a single ball, so I
yeah,
remember Shan Masood, he bowled, right? He
I
bowled
yeah,
in
exactly medium pace, and I
innings.
keep getting those reels that only Shan Masood
Yeah.
can save us. But yeah, I think Shan Masood and maybe a bit of Saud Shakil, but you do have five bowlers in fairness, don't you? Right? You've got four pacers, you've got Salman Agha, so you don't need Salman Agha bowling that much if you just have pacers bowling. You've got four pacers to rotate against, and if you need, you have. I know they haven't yet bowled, but Shan and Saud in mind. So I go Babar. But look, we're still going to lose. This is all a
Yeah.
fruitless discussion.
I
We're
don't know. Maybe
wasting
you
our
drop
time. I'm
both and
wasting
you
my
play
Friday
Herrera
night.
and
But
no. Honestly, you drop both and maybe you play Herrera and Ghulam, right? If you're going you lose 3-0, you'd rather lose 3-0 with a new team, right? And then give them some exposure and hopefully
it's a
they
fair
learn something and
challenge.
get better.
It's a very fair challenge. But
Yeah,
yeah,
honestly, that's what I would do. The rest, I don't. I mean, you're not going to drop Shafiq after 100, as poor as he was in the second innings. Shan's obviously going to stay. So
have you
Shakil,
noticed how
yes, he.
have you noticed how Shan Masood stands? I'm sorry. I'm going to be a little untechnical for a second. Have you seen no a normal stance is like this, isn't it? It's like this.
Yeah,
But have you noticed him?
he just
Like I
stands
don't know
straight.
who
Yeah,
he's trying to seduce, but he'll literally go like this, like that, and I'm like, what are you trying to do here? Just stand straight. And you'll notice he does this more when he's unsure of the swinging ball. When he's a bit
yeah.
hesitant, his bum will come out like, and it's like, what is wrong with you for God's sake? Like, you know, like you're in the wrong profession if that's
We're
what you want to
expecting a
do.
Jared Kimber video on Shan Masood's bum like Babar Azam's toe, huh?
Yeah, yeah. No, not Shan. I'm talking about Abdullah Shafiq.
Oh, Shafiq. Right.
Oh no, I'm talking about Shafiq. I know.
Oh,
Sorry,
Shafiq.
I'm a lefty, but all this. I'm talking about Abdullah
Yeah.
Shafiq. Like literally,
Yeah.
his bum just come out like that. Like in the second innings, just watch it. It'll be like this,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you're in the wrong field. You know what I mean? Like someone needs to tell him to just
Yeah.
like his toe is his bum, whatever it is. Like clearly, like
Yes. Yeah.
we're clutching at straws now. But look, England, it's Ben Stokes who'll come in for sure, make way for Shoaib Bashir. Look, things can't get better for them, but like I think England are professionals, right? They know that this is not time to get complacent. If they were playing the Pakistan of old, the next 1 minute down, next minute up, that's not going to happen. I think this is going to be a pretty straightforward series for them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what better chance to win a test series and also improve your stats than this, right? I mean, and we talk a lot. And when I said this, I'm sure you all, the viewers and the users, were thinking about batting averages, all this. But the bowling, I'm going to give you a stat, okay? Pakistan bowlers outside Asia since 21 have averaged like less than low mid 20s, okay? Second best in the world. In Pakistan since 21, they average 40, okay? The same now opposition bowlers in foreign conditions. They Robinson, Mark Wood. Let's start with Mark Wood. In India and Sri Lanka, he averages over. I think he averages 77 in India and over 40 in Sri Lanka. In Pakistan, he averages 20. And Ollie Robinson, for God's sake, that guy
Yeah.
literally played. I think he played one Test match in India, got no wickets, so maybe one, whatever. And Pakistan averages low mid 20s, right? So what that tells you is it's actually the bowling that stands to benefit a lot from their overseas conditions,
Yeah.
despite the flat wickets. And that tells you that because the pitch is the same for both teams, that tells you, see, this is an example. This is why I also blame the batting. If
Yeah.
one team's bowlers are averaging 20 and your bowlers are averaging 40, even though you are capable of averaging 20 in away conditions, right? In Australia, our bowling fared pretty well. Our bowling was the reason we almost won one test match, maybe two, but it was collapses with the bat that prevented us from being in
Yeah.
a winning position in Test match 2 and
And the
3.
drop catches. Yeah. And the
And
drop
the drop
catches.
catches. But yes, true.
Yeah.
But Test matches 2 and 3, both Test matches, your bowling got you in the game, your batting finished it off. And at home,
Yeah.
you can see it's the incompetence of your batters which makes the stark contrast between Pakistan bowlers' averages and overseas bowlers' averages. So that's why I say that England, like, this is a golden chance for them. And I mean,
Yeah.
I hope I wish I could say something positive, but I can't. Not if you're a Pakistan fan. All I'm going to say is at least this series will have lots of excitement, but not the excitement that we would have wanted. We would have wanted close score
All,
series.
all I'd say just before we wrap up, I'd say the only positive I can say is hopefully by the end of this series, we'll have 823 subscribers.
Yes, please, please. I hope so. I really hope so. But like the last thing I'll say also is just the selection. Today we thought it was an opportune time to show how insane we are, and have Aleem Dar as part of your selection committee, probably the only team in the world that chooses an umpire in their selection committee, and also Hassan Chima, a sports journalist, in your selection committee. I mean, what have we come to? It's basically Mohsin Naqvi thinking, you know what, I have no other avenues. I might as well. It can't get worse than this. Former players aren't working. I'm just gonna just get a sports journalist and an umpire, and let's hope for the best. I mean, why haven't they selected us? Why someone should send our interior minister our gully to gully videos and say that we're ready. We're ready
We've
to
got this.
if you get Zoom coaches in, please get Zoom selectors in.
We've got this American politician lookalike as the selector of the Pakistan cricket team. There you go.
Thank you all. Thank you. Make Pakistan cricket board great again.
Make Pakistan cricket great again. I think and that's a good way to end the conversation, I think. on that note, thanks a lot for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you think. Is there any way to improve Pakistan cricket? We are losing hope more and more by the day. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Thank you.